I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. Have we found the same old fears? Wish you were here. Oh, I wish you were here. How I wish you were here. Running over the same old ground. Have we found the same old fear? I wish you were here. Hello, y'all. Nilvah Nexus time, of course, every Thursday night right here on Google Plus YouTube. And we do this every Thursday, just an informal roundtable discussion. I am the only one at the table at this moment, which means you might be hearing me sing more if things get down to it. If you're interested in discussing Torah on a very open roundtable, I'd appreciate it, you know, if you're a genuine interest and you have questions, please go to our Facebook page, the Nilvah Nexus. Might even have a group up here pretty soon. The Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, also James the Idol Smasher, that's me, at gmail.com. And we'll get you set up on the mailing list here on the YouTube Google Plus side of the web. I'm singing Roger Waters because well, I love the song. I grew up with Kiss. I developed a love for Pink Floyd. And Pink Floyd, and Roger Waters in particular, has kind of gone off the deep end. He's kind of, he just kind of wiping his ass with a history book. Excuse my French, but that's what the man's doing. And I'm going to sing a song anyway. And that's actually back in the day. This thing first started 3-4 years ago. That's the song I would open up the hangout with. I would get on the guitar and I'd do a little "Wish You Were Here." And to do that for a Torah-based hangout, for a man who thinks the Jews are behaving like Nazis in Palestine, yeah, I thought that was the best middle finger I could give him, was to sing one of my favorite songs of his in a Torah-based hangout. I mean, that's like sweet revenge, isn't it? Also, I guess I kind of hope that one day he's going to come around and he's not going to keep being a schmuck, because the old adage is, they're Nazis and occupiers, blah, blah, blah. We know that's not the case. It just takes a little history. So here's to Roger learning history. Although we've been doing Parsha discussions every week, I'm not necessarily going to name the hangout after the Parsha, lest it be the main topic. It's always the topic here at the Nilvah Nexus. It's pretty much is always, Parsha is always up for discussion anytime that we are live or not live. Every Thursday night, right here, Google Plus. That's the main topic. However, I guess I've come to the point to where, it being a Parsha talk every week, perhaps the parsha can go unsaid for the next year. We'll see how this year goes, or the coming year of doing the Nexus. We're almost ending 5776. The topic of the week is kidnapping, and I was hoping to get some insight from some of the folks who might show up here. The reason why you're not seeing a lot of folks here on the Nexus at the moment is because Rabbi Katz is in the States, and I know that Ross has gone up there. I know that Rosalie's got to work, and you know, everyone's kind of going to Chicago. I wish I could be there, Rabbi. If you're watching this, have a great stay. Many blessings be with you. Welcome back to the States, and I can't wait to read your new book. It's not arrived yet. I'm not a Prime member. But it's called The Laws of Ger Toshav by Rabbi David Katz. Worth every penny, I'm sure, if it's anything like the last couple of books, particularly this one right here, which I'm going to give a plug for, because apparently there are still people out there who think that this right here is a nasty word, and that these people don't exist. How many times has God mentioned the ger in the Torah alone, and yet he doesn't exist and doesn't count, but this made-up thing called Noahide, which is just fine, I guess, you know, is the only thing that, no. God differentiates us non-Jews, but, you know, basically between two kinds of folk, ger and nochri. You're either coming near the God of Israel, or you're far from the God of Israel. You're either a God-fearer or you're not. And that's really all that word means. It's the right way of saying Noahide. I'm going to share a brew with you since I'm here alone here. This is the Samuel Adams Boston Lager, a kosher brew, a delicious brew, quite possibly the greatest mass-produced beer in the United States. And look at that color. Doesn't that just, I know I get the red light back, but just look at that color. You can always, color is a great indicator of the flavor of beer. And if you want the flavor of your beer to pop, even on cheap beer, give it head. Give it head. It's the one time you can give head. Nobody should say nothing wrong about it. Give it a little head, a little for half inch, maybe even an inch. I mean, sometimes I've had thick head. It makes the flavor blossom in your beer. So when you pour your beer, don't be afraid of head. Head is good. That's about the least amount of head you'll ever want. A little more head's good than that. So pour kosher brew for the hangout. I've got some stuff up here ready to go on my in the screen about what it comes to tonight's topic, which is kidnapping. Doreen Ellen Beldotan, a member of the Nexus, scares a lot of people, and she probably knows she scares a lot of people. With that said, I think she makes a lot of sense, and I know I'm not the only one. And I was taking ideas for topics for our hangouts that we do every week here. There's always something new to find in the Parsha, but at the same time, you know, you want a topic of the week. And she brought up, because she is an advocate against child trafficking. And she's been that way for many years, before it ever hits the media. You know, this lady was on it. She was into it, and she was rallying against it. Fortunately, 4, 5, 6 years later, we have a president in our White House who actually gives a damn about that sort of thing and is cracking down on it. And with all of Jeff Sessions' flaws, I think primarily a flaw of Jeff Sessions is being Jeff Sessions, but our Attorney General is actually pursuing it. Why would this be big? You know, okay, human trafficking, big deal. That's what I would say, right? Apparently, it's got a lot of problems in two places you wouldn't think there would be problems. When I look at Europe, not so much Great Britain, but I've heard stuff about some of the royalty and the aristocrat folk there as well. But when I think Europe, I think angry, violent perverts. Europe is done. It's been done for about 100 years. The very fact of both world wars tells you something about those kind of people. I know I have European descent. I'm not ashamed of my European descent. Most of it's Celtic, thank God. But Europe is finished, and it deserves to die. Big doings in Israel and the United States when it comes to human trafficking, child trafficking. I was very disturbed to learn a few years ago that Israel, the state of Israel, the government, not the people. I know everyone thinks that Israel is supposed to be looked at as a Torah-based homeland for the Jews. It is the home. The land is the land, like, you know, earth, climate, water, you know, that kind of stuff is forever. The land is Israel. The occupying government at the time is a little mixed up. I think they're doing the best they can with what they think they have to work with. And considering it's real hard to get things done when you're, you're being hated on all sides of you. And half of that hate wouldn't be there if Israel hadn't decided to give up some land to the crazy people. By the way, if you want war with the Jews, you'll lose. I don't give a shit who the hell tells you otherwise. You're going to go to war with the Jews now, you'll lose. End of story. It's done. It's over. Okay? You're not going to lose. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. 15 or 1,300, 1,500 people, something like that, showed up at the Temple Mount for Tisha B'Av. It's the 9th of Av. I think that there's a big change. And if you're going to stand against Israel now, you're an idiot. And you're going to deserve what happens to you. And your family and your neighbors and your community will deserve what happens to them too, should they rally with you against them. It's too late. Okay? Start getting your stuff together now. But there's a change happening. So with that said, the government of Israel I'm not happy with, but I'm not happy with my own damned government, and they are damned. Nothing. The United States is doomed. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try to fight to save it to the best of my ability for the sake of liberty alone, and for the good that it has done for many people in the world. The government's doomed. Nothing good will come from those people. They're the worst human slime, and all of them be damned. I wouldn't suffer maybe but 3-4 of them to live. I haven't heard anything good out of anybody else. Maybe there's some worthy people in our Congress. Most of them, no. I don't pick the peanuts and corn before I flush. I don't do that. I'm not that kind of guy. I know I should be. I'm not. But they're making an effort to stop human trafficking. They're actually looking into it. They're acknowledging that it happens. I don't even know a lot of it. But I know that they're making arrests, major arrests. I've heard stories from the state of Israel where people are getting like 6 people in a day. Doreen was saying 6 people in a day got arrested on child trafficking. You know, one thing, this is where I was going with this. What disturbs me the most about hearing about both of my countries, and is anybody even in the room yet? Nobody's in the room. Good, I'll just keep talking. If there's one thing I've noticed about the state of Israel and the United States of America, they love stealing babies. If there's anything a state government loves, it's baby theft. They love taking babies. One guy here in Oklahoma, where I happen to reside, spanked his kid. Spanked him. Spanked him with a belt. Not supposed to, or maybe with a hand. I don't remember. But it left a bruise on the bottom. The mother wasn't there. She dropped her off to her boyfriend. The boyfriend's watching. The boyfriend smacks the kid, causes a bit of a bruise. No bleeding, and it's not like he was shaking the baby. But he was. That's how people were disciplined 20, 30 years ago in the United States. People used to spank the shit out of their kids. I got my ass spanked enough. But the mother comes back. She's not guilty. She had to work. She thought that this man who she's with would treat the 2-year-old right, spanked it instead. So the state takes the child. Protective. They love stealing babies. I mean, American government folks, these people who think they're servicing you, and ask George Carlin what service means. When it comes to capitalism, which I'm not knocking free trade and government, you'll know what service means, because that's what it really means. Well, they love taking babies. Our glorious, blessed, holy government that we love so much in the United States that, if we don't like it here, why don't you just get out? That's how we do things around here. That kind of mentality, yeah, that's the cover-up. How many people alone throughout the states are getting caught with young male underage prostitutes or sexual harassment right and left in state capitals? They steal babies and bring them over. We just had like a whole U-Haul full of people from Mexico be pulled over the border in Texas, and like 3 of them died in the truck while a whole bunch of people are locked into it because they're trafficking humans over the border. The reason why I bring this up is because in the 10 Commandments, although all the Christian folks and even some Jewish folks will say do not steal, it does not say do not steal. It says do not kidnap. Think about that for a second. Though in the Torah, the actual, in the statement said at Sinai, do not kidnap. It doesn't say do not steal. But look at it this way. If you steal money from somebody, you steal an apple off an apple cart, whatever your reason is, when you steal, you have to make restitution. That's where a lot of slavery comes from. When you take or destroy somebody's property, you are their slave until they are paid back. You are their property, and you will pay it back, or you'll face consequences, clearly laid out in the Torah. So when you steal money, you make restitution. When you steal property, destroy property, you make restitution. But with kidnapping, that's the sentence of death. That is your chayav misa. You are worthy, and the penalty for it is death. A couple of things I brought up just if people were here. I think that honestly, it being a topic that Mrs. Dotan came up with, it scared people. Some who might be left. The prohibition is when you take somebody's life. Taking property is taking part of their life, especially part of their life that they put to make use of something. You work hard to produce a car to take your kids to school, or you work to produce something to provide for your family, for yourself. Food, let's just say food. And a part of their past, you're taking a part of their labor, you're taking a part of them. When you take but the commandment is to not take a person. We can always look back to Joseph. And his brothers sold him out. There's a story about Caesar, and I don't have it ready. I wish I had. Caesar discussing with the Jewish people the sale of Joseph. Aren't you all worthy of death by this? And I lost it. I guess I shut it down when I was certain places. Yeah, I don't know where I put it. Oh, that was really good too. It was a great article. When you line up the 2 Ten Commandments, and with non-Jewish people, the basic law is do not steal. Period. The base law. But in the 10 Commandments, we have 2 tablets. A lot of people don't know that these tablets, when we read them, which are actually cubed, but for the sake of, for looking at the, 2 sides, they actually fit together. I'm the Lord your God, thou shalt have no other gods before me, is equated on the other tablet to, you shall not murder. You shall have no other gods before me, you shall not commit adultery. You understand where we're going at here? I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me, do not murder. The giver of life, taking the life, you might as well consider yourself a god. There might be rabbis who can teach you better than this. I'm going off the top of my head here. You've got do not have any other gods before me, right across that from do not commit adultery. Now for the Jewish people at Sinai, it was a marriage between they and Hashem. So having no other gods is likened to committing adultery. Likewise, when you love your spouse, love them as that you would love God through. If you could love God through a person, if you could show love of God through it, that's what your job is to do as a spouse. Do not take the Lord's name in vain. Do not steal. Do not take the Lord's name in vain. Do not steal. Think about those two. Equal. They make a lot of sense. You just can't take God's name and use it for your own purposes. Can't steal. Or kidnapping is to be taking the Lord's name in vain. All people are made in God's image. Nobody is your property. You actually have to go through a legal contract to make somebody your property. They either have to have done you wrong and are owed in a court of law, or you yourself say, I am destitute, please. It better for me to be your slave than to die of hunger. Honor your father and mother, you shall not covet. But I'm bringing this up because do not kidnap and do not take the name of God in vain. It makes you wonder, when I think human trafficking, I think what most people in the West would think of human trafficking, they're going to think of movies and TV and people from Asia. You know, the containers, these big, huge, they almost look like 18-wheeler, you know, trailers, but these are huge containers filled with people that are shipped over here. There was one pastor I was talking to, and I have a tendency to agree with him, and that the pornography industry is directly linked to human trafficking. And I don't doubt that at all, because pimping is one of the first forms of kidnapping and human trafficking. Really, when you think about it, when you put two and two together, it's kind of what the whole thing's about. Be glad with all the things that you want to say about our president if you're an American, or if you're on if you're an American on the continent. This is the first time that he's actually taken a look at human trafficking. We know there are pedophiles. We know that they are. You know, you heard Pizzagate. I heard Pizzagate a long time ago. It wasn't even called Pizzagate back then. And since we've separated the business from everything else, we ignore it and we go on talking about Russia, Russia, Russia. But it's real. Rich, powerful mothers love little boys. If you don't think they love little boys, and little girls too, I'm sure, because they're ready-made, just look at how the upper class echelon decides who runs the fashion shows, who makes fashion for people. Look at the models they choose. Thin hips, wide shoulders, long, thin, big feet, very wafy face, like a 15-year-old boy. I don't know, ooh, he's crazy. It's not crazy. It's not crazy. Most of the people that are in our governments are perverts. Now, I'm not talking about the janitor at the Capitol building, okay? I'm not talking about the FBI agent who's out actually investigating kidnapping and missing children. Not talking about that. I'm talking about lawyers. Lawyers. Don't ever say there's, I don't believe there's such thing as a good lawyer. Yet, like Nazis, there was Schindler, but there's no such thing as a good Nazi. I don't think there's such a good thing as a lawyer, because they protect congressmen, judges, policemen. Police, you're probably not going to find as much of the human trafficking bit. Cops do have a bit of a different view on human beings than a lawyer or a judge. Same thing in our country, by the way. Judges and lawyers, same thing. Some are favored over others. That's the only reason why some of these lawyers wear black robes. Has nothing to do with justice, has nothing to do with a righteous law, doing God's work, or just being a decent person. The primary need for lawyers and cops, particularly on this case, is to protect those doing nefarious shit. If you can offer a child in effigy up to a horned owl god in California, I don't give a shit what you say. And the fact that we have so much of this trafficking going on, so much of it, and it keeps getting exposed and uncovered. Pedophiles, get them when they're young, you know? Get them in there when they're young. It's real. It's prohibited, and I would have liked to have shared this conversation with others. I've gone on for 25 minutes now. Good grief. And we'll end the live portion of this discussion now. And hopefully Ross, Rosalie, and John, and all that, everybody will be back next week, hopefully, God willing. But we do this every Thursday. I'll at least show up and yap at a camera and say my piece. I'm not going to teach. I'm not here to teach you. I'm not a rabbi. And there are better Ben Noach, Ger folk who are much better at teaching than I just talk a lot. So I don't represent anybody, just my personal views. Okay. But if you do want to join in on the conversation, if you want to get ideas of the kind of conversation we've had in the past, go to the Idol Smasher YouTube page and check them out. JamesTheIdolSmasher@gmail.com is the email address, and stop by the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, and we'll give you links. That's pretty much just a place to throw the links out, so you know where to show up every Thursday. It's pretty much the reason for it all. But Rabbi, if you're listening, if anybody's listening, hey. Happy trails and welcome back, and I really, really wish I could be there with you guys. Shabbat shalom, y'all.